time to jump back to our baby blue here, our 2.5 RS. I wanna get back on this project, get it going. We are gonna be repainting this entire car still, but I wanna wait until the Corolla is at least reassembled and built for that, because with doing a whole bunch of sanding, obviously there's gonna be a lot of paint dust and everything around the shop, and I don't want any open engines. So we're gonna continue on reassembly, building everything that we can do on this car. In this video, I'd like to get the brakes situated, get the rest of the Alcons on, get the rear e-brakes done, get the P1 wing mounted up onto our carbon fiber trunk, because I need to get the holes figured out for where that has to go on this. So that way, when I go to paint the trunk, we're not painting it and then drilling holes into it. Now, you guys will notice there's still no roof on the RS, and that's because we ran into an issue. So if you guys know 2.5 RSs at all, you guys can't even see that because it's so freaking blown out. Roof that was originally on this car was a sunroof roof. And with the car having a sunroof, and us doing a one-piece carbon fiber roof, we ran into an issue where when we welded the factory sunroof back into the roof panel, it warped the roof, and then we bondoed it. We test fitted on the car after we thought that we got it 100% before we started laying molds on it, and unfortunately, it was just too warped to be able to be used as a mold. So we already have a new roof next door that is getting molded. It is a non-sunroof roof, so there's no welding or anything like that that has to take place. So we just need to sand it smooth, start laying fiberglass on that with the mold release stuff and whatnot, so that way we can get a good mold for our carbon roof. So, I thought someone was calling me. Let's go ahead, let's jump to some brakes. Now, last time you guys saw this, I think it was when we tossed on one of the Alcons up here. You can see the big Alcon brakes up here. We have 3 more of these to toss on. I had to wait for a couple things to come in on these. For the rears, I needed the rear rotor under hats to allow me to still retain the e-brakes. On the fronts, I needed additional hardware because I kind of lost the ones that originally came with it. So now we can go ahead. Actually, I don't even think I had this one at the time. So we have our other front brake pads. Both of the rears, I've already added on the bottom side rotor hat. So with that, we can start getting these on. The e-brakes, the backs are gonna suck just because I have to assemble the e-brakes. If I didn't assemble the e-brakes, it wouldn't be too bad. So let's go ahead and get this other front on, and then we'll start doing the rear assemblies, the e-brakes, all that stuff for these, because these ones are gonna be a little time consuming. Gotta get these Brimbos off first. These brake lines are already screwed on, so I need to undo those. I really do like the RS05RRs, but I do believe they are actually too big for this car. All right, so on here, this bracket has to go on the back side like that, and then these bolts feed through here to go in. Rotor for any wheels that would be on it. I really like these wheels. They're just, maybe if I went down to a small, I don't want to give up a sidewall though. I don't want to go down to a smaller tire just for a sidewall. But man, I don't even know if 17s will clear these brakes, to be honest. I might have to go 18s and go smaller tire. I'm gonna have to do some research tonight, but sick, dude. We got our fronts on. I gotta put the other brake line on the caliper on the other side, but now we're gonna jump to the rears and figure out e-brakes, which e-brakes, if you watched last time, they kicked my ass. So we are gonna struggle with some e-brakes because we can't put the rear brakes on until we get the rear e-brake assemblies all fitted up back there. Some people might wonder, why do I hate e-brakes? And it's because there's so much that goes into them, and they can be such a pain in the butt to assemble. So I'm gonna take half of everything that's on the table, toss it in that box, and we're gonna start on one of the rear e-brake assemblies. I feel like once I get one of them worked through, it won't be as bad, but these cannot go on. With these Alcons, I did have to talk to the guys at Flat Irons for the rear e-brake hub right there, because when you buy this kit, it does not come with this rear e-brake hub. So you have to purchase it separately, and then it screws into the front half of the rotor. I believe they have a street and a track version. This would be considered the street version because it does retain this rear e-brake drum. So we can't even put these on, obviously, until we get this situation figured out. So let me go suffer with the e-brakes. One down. It's quite the pain in the butt. We've got our Alcon on, we've got our brake pads in, we've got our rotor on. I did have to trim the dust shield a little bit back here for the Alcons to fit, which is not a big deal, not a big issue at all. So these are now good to go. It's a floating rotor, so once the wheel's on there, it'll clean up any of that slop. I did have one issue with getting this on. The actual rotor did not want to go over the new e-brake assembly, and come to find out, the groove on these were not cut deep enough right here, because this is what goes in between each of the e-brake assembly or e-brake shoes, and it couldn't come in enough to retract to be able to allow this rotor to come on. So I cut that about 1/8 of an inch deeper. I've already tested the e-brake and it does work, and it does keep this rotor from spinning. We are just gonna have to adjust the star screws on both of them after we get the other side assembled. So with one down, we got one more to go. I will say, if you have an extra hand or somebody to help you, take it, because trying to get the little, they're like these little stakes that come through here with a little spring and like a spin washer that keep the assembly hooked back to this. So, whoo, with one down, let's just knock this out. We have functional e-brakes now. So there was a lot of adjustment I had to do on these, on the star screw, on the back side behind that cover, and on the cable side, but I did get it all to work. It all fits up. Once again, I did have to trim the dust shield here for the rotor, or for the calipers on both sides. Not a big deal, easy to do, but we now have full almost working brakes on the 2.5 RS. I need to get the banjo bleeder, or the banjo screws to the backside of these calipers still, so we can hook up the brake lines. Once those are hooked up, we can actually bleed the brakes on this and have working brakes, which will be freaking sweet. Plus the Alcons just look freaking sweet, man. And it's so nice to have an e-brake on this car now, so that way whenever I push it around, it won't try to roll away. Granted, it didn't really roll away before because the wheels were rubbing on the body, but regardless of the fact, we needed e-brakes. So for the intake manifold is just about ready to go on permanently, but I need to get my coolant pressure hooked up, and for that, we are actually using one of the coolant pipes from the water pump that would normally go to the throttle body to cool it. So I'm gonna use this hose here. It's just gonna go in like that, but I had to get one of these fittings, so let's get this fitting on here for good. And then I think at that point, the intake manifolds can actually go on permanently. Can it? I'm pretty sure it can. And then we have some other stuff to wire up, like our air temp sensor, and I think at that point we should be good. So that should fit in there nice and snug, which it does. The only thing left wiring wise to wire up is the knock sensor, and I know I have wires in here allocated for it somewhere. Oh, it's right there. Okay, yeah, I can still totally wire that up with all of this like this. I just need to kind of grab this wire and bring it around. I have to loosen, I think I gotta loosen up the TGVs to be able to get these on to get it all to line up. Sometimes you gotta do so, which is not a big deal. There we go, and now we got more adjustment. Oh no, they're all going in pretty nicely. Don't know how I'm going.
I hope it's not a bomb.
I hope it's not a bomb. The intake manifold on, that coolant pressure sensor done down there. There's really not much stopping us from starting this car aside from a couple fuel lines I gotta do inside of the car and the vacuum lines. And I think that's for the most part going to be it. So what I want to jump to next is intercooler piping. So most of this can go back in permanently. So I had Ben up at Vortex Coatings, powder coat everything for us. This is called Blackjack. It's primarily the black that I use on anything that's going to be powder coated black. It's like this nice flat black that's not like too much. I was gonna leave everything that raw stainless color, but I think for the intercooler piping, the black just works. So let's go ahead and toss some intercooler piping in. We can actually toss some of the clamps in permanently as well to get this thing pretty much put back together. Harbor Freight should be fine, to be honest. Vacuum lines are all done on the RS for the most part. I had to order a couple fittings. Those will be here tomorrow. I want to jump to the wing. We got some parchment paper, but first I need to knock out some coilovers on this VA STI real quick. So, I have to work for a little bit before we can go back to having fun. So, inhaled spit, dude. That's terrible. Let's get this thing knocked out real quick. That suspension job is done. Now we are going to jump back onto our RS and we're gonna make the template for the rear wing. So Melanie had some of this like thick parchment paper. So I'm just gonna lay this on the back side of the wing, tape up the areas that need to be taped, tape the paper to the wing, poke all the holes out, inlay this onto the base of the wing, take it off, transfer it to the trunk, and then that should give me a perfect template for where to drill the holes in this thing. So let's make this template. I'm hoping it doesn't take too long, but we'll see. I wanted to try to get this done as like perfect as possible. And honestly, this works way better than I thought. So obviously I want this to be as center as possible. I feel like I cut this spot a little funky, but I mean, the template looks like it lines up pretty freaking well. And anywhere where I see one of these puncture holes is obviously where we drill. Pretty good way to install a wing if you have something similar to like what we're doing. Not a bad way to do it. Make a template, transfer the template to the body, because we are very quickly going to be going back into body work here soon. So any of this stuff where I have to like cut or drill or do anything to panels, I would like to do now, so that way when we go to repaint, everything is painted as it should be. Alright, that looks like our pilot holes. There's one more up here somewhere that I still have to do. I just don't know the spot yet for it because the clip fell out when I was doing the template, so it's alright, we'll be fine. Close. Okay, so there we go. Wing is on. Well, part of the wing is on. That actually looks pretty freaking centered too. Let's get the upper piece on here and then let's pull this thing on. All right, there's still a couple more holes I'm gonna have to drill in the trunk, but I'm gonna worry about that in a little bit. Because right now I just wanna make sure that this, dude, it just like falls right on too. That's beautiful. I just wanna make sure that this is sitting somewhat where it needs to. Yeah, like there's some areas in the actual trunk that I'll have to clean up, but let me just step back. And we can get the new gaskets and everything to be able to put those down. The gaps on the edges look pretty freaking same. That is honestly pretty good, dude. That worked out way better than I thought. So the P1 wing is all mounted up. There's 2 more holes I have to drill, 1 more for a locating clip that's got to go up here under the wing, and then 1 hole somewhere over here for the wiring to pass through, but I'm not going to worry about that stuff right now. I just wanted to physically get it on the car so that way it wasn't floating around the shop anymore, and obviously we had to do this before we start doing all the body work and painting on this thing. Because for the most part, we're actually almost wrapped up with all the mechanical stuff on that thing. We've got to do the hard lines for the vacuum or for the boost controller that go from the turbo to the boost controller and then from the boost controller to the wastegate. I put the O2 sensor back in, finish building the base tune because I've been pretty lazy about it. Get a couple more clamps for intercooler piping, fix the power steering reservoir because that thing just leaks like a sieve right now, dude. Yeah, after going through the car again, we're pretty much mechanically done. There's the vacuum, there's the boost controller lines, 1 vacuum line that's got to go to the manifold that I ordered the fitting for yesterday, so it should be here today. Wire in the knock sensor and the turbo speed sensor, and oh, the last 2 fuel lines in the trunk. I was about to say we could almost start it. I'm gonna order those tonight. I need to order some -8 and -6 PTFE line and fittings for the fuel lines that have to go underneath of the back seat that run to the fuel tank assembly or the fuel pump hanger to be able to deliver fuel up to the front of the car. Man, dude, this wing feels freaking stable. I love it. So with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. We're about ready to jump back into the bodywork stuff because we have a lot of painting and sanding to do since we are redoing literally the entire car. So with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you liked the video, if you're hyped to see the RS back and the progress we're making on this thing, go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, I'll put it in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.